where we are making changes to your spiritual diet and encouraging you to maximize your potential.
Grace and peace be unto you from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I pray all is well on your end. I'm Bishop Eric Kincaid Clark, and welcome to Daily Bread, our time together in the Word. Well, recently I interviewed a very esteemed professor at the Ashland Theological Seminary for 38 years. He is a true man of God and a very astute and accomplished businessman. I had the privilege of spending some time with him recently, and I just wanted to share this interview with you. Be blessed today by this interview, and I'll see you at the end. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dr. William Myers. You inspire me as I will be on a track as we have talked, and I'm going to be following many of the steps of Dr. Myers as I pursue. I have had, much training in years gone by. I went to a Bible college, but to actually get those accreditations and to get those degrees, they open up doors. And I have preached and taught it for years. Education creates opportunity.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, I have preached for years that the best thing that I could give you, apart from inspiring you towards Christ, is to inspire you towards education. I am a proponent. I am a very affirming inspiration towards education. And, sir, you inspire me towards education. You started the McQuarrie Center.
Yes.
And obviously that was a result of your inspiration with your pastor. You believe in the mentoring model.
Yes.
I believe in the mentoring model. Tell us a little bit about the impact that Reverend McQuarrie had on you.
Well, Reverend McQuarrie was many things to me. He was literally my father.
He was a father.
Yeah, he literally, not just my father in the ministry, he was literally a father to me.
Yes.
When I was a child, when I arrived here, not having a father, not even knowing my father, but it didn't bother me because I had a very strong mother.
Yeah.
But Reverend McQuarrie was my father. He later became my uncle. My wife now, Brenda, her mother, Reverend McQuarrie, they both were siblings, and both of them were twins. There's two sets of twins. Reverend McQuarrie had a twin, and Brenda's mother had a twin.
Okay.
And so he became my uncle as well,
Yeah.
and then ultimately my father in the ministry.
Yes.
And as I said, he put a lot of attention on children, because our church was majority children. That was just a handful of adults. And he says, well, include the children. And he wanted the children included in everything. He didn't want them left out of anything. He didn't want them treated like they're second-class citizens. God has their hands on them. And ultimately, that had a lot to do with me founding the McQuarrie Center for African American Religious Studies. Because I thought about people like him. I thought about all of the preachers around in Cleveland and in Mississippi, where I came from, who were excellent people. They were brilliant. They had great creativity and imagination. But most of them, because of the lives that they had to live, because of what had been denied them in this country due to racism, didn't have the opportunity to get that kind of education.
Correct.
And so therefore, they were kind of blocked as to where else they could go.
Yes.
I started the McQuarrie Center to open those doors. For ministers like that who had never been able to get into seminary, I wanted them to be able to go. For lay people who had a call on their life, but they did not know how to articulate it.
Yes.
And didn't know how to go somewhere beyond just Sunday school for them. Let me tell you something about that. You're talking about children.
Okay.
God has a plan for all of us.
Yes.
Every person that comes into this world has a call and a purpose. Now look at this. No one had ever written or published an article or a book on call through the eyes and the lens of black people. Had not. Do you know I was the first person to publish something on that in the 1990s? So for 2,000, almost 2,000 years from Jesus' death and Jesus' calling his disciples, nobody thought it was important enough to talk about that through the lens and the experiences of black people. You know why?
Yes.
God had that assignment for me.
Wow.
And it had to wait that time until I come along, been trained and prepared to be able to do it. So if you go look now, I've written more on the call and published more on the call than anybody in the history of the world.
What?
And it's all out there. No
Wow.
one. In the most prestigious journals
That is amazing.
and books, you'll see my name. You want to know what the definition of call is? Go to the Interpreter's Bible Dictionary, the most important, the most prestigious dictionary in the world. You will see the write-up about call, and at the bottom you'll see William H. Myers' name.
Wow.
So the
that
McCrary
is
Center.
amazing.
So that's then shows you then why the purpose of the Black Church Studies program at Ashland that didn't have anything black. Not
You
a course,
created
not
that.
a degree. I created the whole program. It was waiting for me. It was my purpose that God had called. And now that has been in existence for 38 years. I've been at
38
Ashland.
years.
I've been at Ashland as a professor. I'm the most senior professor. I've got the longest tenure than anybody that's ever been there at Ashland Theological Seminary. And the Black Church Studies program started. I founded it. I found the McCrary Center. It exists to this day. And tons of preachers. I would guess that in Northeast Ohio,
Wow.
75 to 85% of the preachers in this area, and I'm not talking about across the world, all the rest of them,
Yes.
but 75 to 80% of the preachers in Cleveland that has been to theological schools have been students of mine.
Wow.
Yes.
I told you I had to either shrink him down or enlarge this room just to get him in here. I'm telling you, what a blessing that we have with us today. Again, Dr. William Myers. Incredible. Critical race theory. There's a lot of talk that our history is not important. They're trying to erase it from the public studies in the schools. They don't want to talk about it. And there are a lot of African Americans who are duped in thinking that, yeah, we just want peace. We don't need to keep on bringing all that stuff up. It stirs up feelings and emotions that doesn't help us going forward. And interestingly, recently we were talking, and there are a lot of preachers that don't think, knowing their history, knowing the history of the black church, learning to preach a gospel that is palatable for all people. But a lot of the gospel that we have heard as young people coming up was not palatable for our community. As a matter of fact, I traveled to Africa and discovered that the slave dungeons were in the basement of churches. So while the slaves were being held and getting ready to be shipped out, they were listening to whites worship their God. And then to come to America and to be presented this same God that they were worshiping right above our heads. And here we progress and move forward, and you have people talking about critical race theory. Doctor, I'd just like to hear your comments on that.
Well, critical race theory is the big lie. It's the newest, latest boogeyman in the socio-political sphere to gin up fear and hatred among white people so that they can get them to vote on these ultra-conservative kind of views. Critical race theory came out in the law discipline, in the field of law.
Okay.
Okay, and that's where it was taught. That's really where it still has been taught. Nobody's teaching critical race theories in our schools.
Okay.
People aren't teaching critical race theory. But the concept of talking about race and racism is indelibly etched into our history, the history of this nation.
Yes.
Now, you're either going to teach history or you're not.
Yeah.
And if you want something cut out of history, then you're not teaching history.
You're not teaching history.
So people who have been cut out have to come along and teach something else. I wondered why, when I was in college, why I was getting A's, no less than B's in everything, but I could never get more than a C in history, American history. I wondered to myself. And it wasn't until years later when I started studying this in order to teach it that I figured it out. There was nothing in the history book about me. There was nothing in the history books about me when I was going
They left it
to
out.
college. They left it all out. Now, if you think history doesn't make a difference, and if you think they have taught history, go read American history, then go read the book, Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee, and see what Native Americans have to say about what actually the history was. You think they brought up scalping and were scalping the people out on the plains.
Okay.
White folks brought
Scalping
here. It was white that brought those diseases that killed all of the Native Americans because they weren't used to it. Now, you want to tell me they just celebrated the 75th year of Jackie Robinson breaking the color line?
Correct.
Is that history or isn't it?
Yeah.
You don't want your kids to hear about that?
Right.
You know why you don't want them to hear about it? Because you don't want the truth of the original sin of this nation being told. That needs to be taught so you don't repeat it again.
Correct.
Those kinds of things need to be taught so that all of the hatred you don't want to teach about the Holocaust?
Right.
But you know what? There's more than one Holocaust. There's 2 million of the Native Americans. There were 6 million of the Jews.
Yeah.
But in the Atlantic slave trade, the lowest estimate is 50 million.
Correct.
The highest estimate is 100 million.
100? Yeah.
So how are you going to leave all that out and say you just taught history? You did not. So it's just a boogeyman for the big lie, like the big lie that Trump didn't lose, that he won.
Yeah.
It's just a big lie, and it gins up these racial issues, and it gins up this racial hatred in our country. We have to teach all history.
Yes.
And if it makes you uncomfortable, it makes you that's how you learn. And it doesn't matter who it is. It does not matter whose story it is or what it is that happened. You have to tell the story. We have to, this story, that's what's happening in Ukraine, to the Ukrainian people, it has to be told. We have to identify with the Ukrainian, being a subjugated people ourselves.
Yes.
Being enslaved and mistreated.
Yes.
The same kind of genocide that's happening to them happened to us. How can your heart not go out for that? How can you sit up and deny, like Putin and all of those lines, say, oh, this has not happened. Don't believe your eyes.
Don't believe your eyes.
Believe us. Well, no. This is documented.
Yes.
And we have to tell that story. So if you don't tell your story, then who else, like I'm talking about, the call. In my book, it's not white people's call, because their story has been told. In my first book on call, The Irresistible Urge to Preach, it's 86 stories of black people of all natures, all sizes, genders,
Yes.
denominations,
Yes.
and all of that, to say, we have a story too. But if you don't go tell your story, if you don't go research it out, if it's not important enough to you, why should it be important enough to anybody else? So we need to tell that story.
Yes,
and
sir.
if they want to call everything that we talk about in the history of this country, they want to call it critical race theory, go ahead, help yourself. That's a lie, but go ahead and help yourself. You need to know what happened. You need to know that so that we don't repeat it and don't do it again.
You just mentioned the current affairs, and that's one of the things that I'm enamored with about you, Dr. Myers, is that you're well rooted in history, but also very active and activated in the present day. You are an avid reader. You like to know what's going on. As a matter of fact, you straighten my collar with the cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
And making sure I'm tightening up my game.
Yes.
And you talk about, Dr. Myers, your age, if you don't mind me sharing. How old are you?
74.
74. And technology is your friend.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
you are plugged into the world of technology.
Yes.
Now, a lot of your contemporaries are not. Do you have you felt out of place or ahead of, I don't know, almost alien to your own environment all your life? I mean, being 10 years old, 12 years old, teaching and leading adults is not normal for a 10-year-old, 12-year-old. Going to the bank, being African-American, being at the most educated in the environment, and being the vice president, even up on Wall Street in Chicago and the major trade houses here in America. Again, you stick out like a sore thumb. And to be 74 years old and to be tech savvy, you calling me saying, all right, you got to download this, you got to bounce this over, you got to buy this, you got to change the currency. I'm like, are you kidding me? Tell me, has that been your experience your whole life, or it's been a little different?
I think my whole life, and I never thought about it. I just followed the past. I think my whole life was God made me in such a way that I believe the simplicity of things. I believe the simplicity of the gospel. When other people might have been asking questions or challenging it, or not wanting to be. So the church raised me. And what the church said, I believe. When those preachers said, you're not what somebody else called you. You're what God made you to be. I believe that.
Yes.
It came out of the church. The church said it. The preacher said it. I believe the old deacon preaching and the old deacon praying, and they prayed the Bible.
Yes, they did.
God is a God of the motherless and the fatherless.
Yeah.
I had no mother or father at the time. So I said to Jesus, I want you to be.
Yes.
Because that's what he said.
Yes.
It must be true. It was said in the church.
Yes.
And so God created me with a heart of just simplistic belief. When I ran track at John Hay, my coach, my coach Elmer said, now boys, you cannot run fast and smoke reefer and drink. He said it. He was my coach. I believed him. Though there was a contradiction right in my face there, because Bruce was the fastest guy on our team. But Bruce smoked reefer before they ever came up with reefer. But I don't care. Coach Elmer said it.
Yes.
Reverend McCrary, who was gifted beyond belief.
Wow.
His prophetic gift that God, he could see the future. He saw everything. Every first Sunday night in communion, he told us what was going to happen through the year. I believed him. And I believed what the Bible said. So I'm going to follow my path. Whether anybody else thinks that that's right or important, it didn't bother me. And to this day, it does not bother me. You go your way, okay? I'm not mad at you.
Right.
If you don't believe it, you don't believe it. But all I can do is to tell you, like the blind man said, I don't know his name.
Yeah.
You asking me who gave me sight?
Yeah.
I don't know his name. I just know he gave me sight.
Yes.
When you got that kind of experience with God,
Yes, sir.
when you've met Jesus for yourself, you follow your path. Follow your path. Stay in your lane. Do what God has purposed and gifted you to do. And there is nothing that can stop you. So it's like I wasn't worried about whether white people could stop me or whether rich people could stop me. Well, if I believe that, then I believe that they were stronger and mightier than God. And I never, from childhood on, believed that anything was greater or more powerful than God, or loved me more than Jesus, who died for me. And so he's going to determine my path. Me and him. I'm the only one that can get in the way of completing and fulfilling my path. Nobody else can.
Nobody else.
I ain't got to get mad with nobody.
Right.
I tell all of my students that are female, what you getting mad with men about? What you getting mad with the pastors about?
Yeah.
If you believe God called you, he got some place for you.
Correct.
And nobody can stop you. And this is what I want young people to know. You know, go for it. Nobody can stop you but you.
Doctor, you got me on fire now, and I'm gonna try to turn the ship now.
Yeah.
You talk about the two areas of business and theological studies. Right now, the world is at an incredible place where we have a brand new currency that has been created. And there are a lot of people sleeping on it. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of people sleeping not even on the new currency, but even the old currency. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of people, ministry people, leadership people, spiritual people, people who preach, pray, and prophesy, and they're broken than the Ten Commandments. And yet, you know, I guess some kind of way we think if we just give an offering to the church, if we pray and do our best to live before the Lord, that success is going to come. And yet God has created these avenues to grow money, these avenues to multiply money, these avenues, as you said, I like the way you said it. I don't like being poor. I'm not going to be poor no more. You made a decision. Mm-hmm. And that decision led you to education. It led you to work and go to school at night when you're working and push and push and push. And right now, I mean, we were talking just a week or so ago, and the idea of the brand new currency, the virtual world, the metaverse, and all that is in front of us. People don't pay that stuff no mind, and yet, I think I heard you say, now you giving grandkids cryptocurrency. You know, no more tennis shoes, no more sneakers and ice cream. You're gonna really make some investment in them. What do you say, Dr. Myers, to where we are strategically and the great financial opportunities that are right in front of us? What do you say to Christian people, praying people, church-going people? Is money going to fall out of heaven, or has God created opportunities for us to get involved and grow?
God has created opportunities, and there's no greater opportunity that can be pulled together than in the church. Is the church is supposed to be different? Is the church just supposed to always be at the table? The problem is when you come late to the table, somebody else has already made the millions and the billions, and you picking up the crumbs. God places us at the table. He places us. The question is, when you get there, what are you going to do with the information that you're getting? And when it comes along, what are you going to do in terms of getting at that table early? We're in the midst of the greatest socioeconomic disruption that is occurring and about to occur in the history of this world.
In the history of the world.
This world. Technologically, financially, there is nothing bigger than what's happening in this cryptocurrency digital world. There is nothing bigger than that.
Nothing ever been this big.
If you can think back in your life, what was the greatest thing that changed the world
Yeah.
in your lifetime? I can think about a lot.
Yeah.
Because I was born in 47.
Combustible
I can think about
engine.
when there was a ice box where you had to go out and get a block of ice to put it up there to keep it, you know, all right? I can think about when you didn't have lights and when you didn't have a bathroom inside, you had to outhouse. All of the, before the internet, before all of these things, those were changes. Nothing that has changed, even the internet, is not as huge as this.
This currency change is
This
going to be
digital
bigger
world, yes.
than the creation of the internet itself.
Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, absolutely. It's
Dr.
just
Myers.
going to swallow it up like it's nothing.
Well, praise the Lord. You have it. You have it. A powerful, powerful man of God. And it just reminds me that our steps are ordered by the Lord. Thank you for tuning in today. And I hope you've been blessed. Be sure to like it, share it, subscribe, and follow. Text MAXIMIZE to 55444 and then navigate on your screen and release your support, your DBS, your Daily Bread support. I want to ask the people of God, if you would, sow $10. Do it today. Be a blessing. The tithe is holy unto the Lord, and certainly if the people tithe, it cuts the drive. Be sure to join us on tomorrow, and you'll be blessed even further. Until then, peace to the family.
On Mother's Day, May 8th, there will be a special ministry for all young girls between the ages of 10 to 16. Bishop Clark has a word for you. So we want to make sure you don't miss out on this special ministry at the Body of Christ Assembly on Sunday, May 8th, Mother's Day. We'll see you there. The Baca Food Pantry is starting up again beginning Thursday, April 28th. We need all hands on deck. All volunteers, please arrive at the church by noon. That's April 28th at 12 noon.
Tune in to the Bishop Eric K. Clark Facebook page or YouTube channel. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Pastor Lenora Clark is hosting a spiritual encounter event. The dates of service are Friday, May 20th at 7 p.m., Saturday, May 21st at 1 p.m., and Sunday, May 22nd at 10 a.m. Please wear your red on Sunday. This is a free event and there is no registration fee, but registration is required so that we can account for the attendees. So visit the website at baca1.org and click on the Spiritual Encounter flyer to register. See you there and join me for a spiritual encounter.
Join us for prayer Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. John 15:7 says, "If ye abide in me, and my words abide in you, you shall ask what you will, and it shall be done unto you." The phone number to join us is 712-775-8968. The PIN code is 304282.
And if you would like to support this ministry, there are ways that you can give. You can phone the church, use our Cash App, you can text to give, use PayPal, or Givelify.
Thank you for tuning in for the Daily Bread with Bishop Eric Kincaid Clark. Remember to like us on Facebook, YouTube, and share the word with your family and friends.